We'll now provide a few additional examples of the correlation coefficient using scatterplots and actually calculating the correlation coefficient with SPSS.
The scatterplot is a good tool to use to get a first view of what the correlation between your variables might be.
In this case, we have two variables, DEXA determined percent fat and skin folds. You'll notice there's a positive relationship. As your skin folds go up, your DEXA determined percent fat goes up. On the other hand, if you don't want to take skin folds, maybe you would use BMI. Notice the ellipse is bigger. There's more error in predicting DEXA percent fat from BMI than there is from skin folds.
Although there still is a correlation.
Let's take a look at that correlation. Using SPSS, we identify this correlation matrix. We have three different correlations here. We have the correlation between DEXA percent fat and the two skin folds and BMI measures, and then we have the correlation between BMI and skin folds. Let's actually turn to SPSS now and see if we can't create, number one, the correlation matrix, and then two, scatter plots for these variables.
Here's the SPSS data view sheet showing that the variables have been entered in. In column 1 we have age, column 2 skin folds, in column 3 BMI, and in column 4 DEXA determined percent fat.
So now let's look at the correlation amongst the three variables of interest to us at this point. We simply go to Analyze, Correlate, Bivariate, two variables, and we'll take, and over here we have skin folds, BMI, and DEXA, and we'll simply say OK. And here is our correlation matrix, just like we've seen in the previous slide, that illustrates the relationship between DEXA and skin folds and BMI. You can look at the rightmost column and see where the most error is for estimating DEXA determined percent fat. The correlation between skin folds and DEXA is 0.83. The correlation between BMI and DEXA is 0.54. So there's more error to predict or estimate DEXA determined percent fat from BMI than there is in skin folds. Now let's take a look at the actual scatter plot that illustrates these relationships. We'll go to Graphs, Legacy Dialogues, Scatter Plot. We'll do a simple scatter plot. We'll define the variables. What are we trying to predict? DEXA. What are we trying to predict DEXA from? Let's use skin folds. So we're predicting the Y variable, DEXA, from the X variable, skin folds. Here we see the positive association between skin folds and DEXA determined percent fat. Notice that correlation was about 0.85. What's going to happen when we now look at that same scatter plot, but when you have DEXA and BMI? Based upon the correlation coefficient, you ought to have an idea about what's going to happen.